I was in the Co-op today. That's a chain of shops in the UK that dates way back to the 1850s. It was one of the original supermarkets. And I saw this trick-or-treat torch. It's interesting to note that here in the UK, we never ever used to call it trick-or-treat. It used to be Halloween here. And the trick-or-treat thing came over from America because, to be fair, the Americans do Halloween so much better than we do it. Ours is different, though. And this caught my attention because you'd think, well, it's just a Halloween torch. It's got an LED, it's got the little projector things that go over the front. What's so special about that? What's so special about this? I'll open it up, we can try it. Is that it's based on a really ancient theatre technology called a Linnebach lantern. And it uses very, very little in the way of optics. So you get all these little caps that go over the front. And inside, just so we can stay relatively in focus here, inside down there, let's see if I can shine a light down onto it, is a straw hat LED. The straw hat LED, let's bring the notepad in here. The straw hat LED, unlike the conventional LED, which has the lens in the front and the sort of anvil that holds the chip sits in here, and there's a sort of anvil electrode that's shaped like that. And then electrode at the side, the anode usually, that has a wire that jumps onto the top of the chip. Instead of that, and it projecting a very tight sort of focused beam, the straw hat is a sort of dome like this. And it's got the same sort of anvil underneath it. But the chip is directly viewed from the outside from any angle. It's got a very wide viewing angle. And it just means it produces a very sharp point of light. It's very nice for that. So this thing takes, I'm a bit cautious about this, it takes a couple of batteries. I'm suddenly getting memories of taking my mum to Blackpool. Oh, glamorous, eh? Blackpool was a sort of kind of sleazy now, but still very pleasing holiday resort in the UK, well, sort of seaside resort in the UK. And we saw these magic wand things, you know, with this very classic arrangement. They do them all sort of tops, like they do balls with LEDs all over them. Or back then it was just tungsten lamps in them. And I got my mum with fibre optics because she saw it and it took her fancy. So I bought her it. And we took it back to the accommodation and my mum turned it on and smoke started to come out of it because in here there's a metal strip. And when she put the batteries in, it was curved so widely that it actually bit into the sides of the batteries and shorted them out. It was quite amusing at the time. Then I swapped it with mine. Gave her mine. Wasn't that nice? Because I wanted the one that the smoke came out of. So I've put a ghost image on. Let's try this out then. It's not going to be very bright. Hold on, I'm going to have to turn this light off. And then take exposure off. Alright, so there it is, and it's not super sharp image, but it's in focus at most distances, and that is where the Linnebach projector comes into it. So I'm going to turn the light back on now. Huge surge of light, it's adjusted. And I'll doodle you down what's so special about the classic theatrical Linnebach projector, or Linnebach lantern. It was the simplest way to project an image. You had basically a big metal box and there was a light bulb at the back with as small a filament as you could get, because the smaller the filament the better, and then a couple of guide rails at the front, and you slotted in a gobo or frame. Now this could be a piece of glass with an image actually painted onto it as an outline, or it could be a metal sheet with a sort of image punched into it. And whatever happened, wherever there was a gap through that, the point source of light would shine through that gap and it would project a beam. And as you can probably guess, it wasn't that efficient. If you think of it, you recall the sort of Batman type thing where they've got the searchlight and they put the Batman logo across the front and there's clouds up there and it's like na 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 na, and it's projecting this beam. They just put an outline of the Batman logo and it's projected onto the clouds and suddenly, oh, that's amazing, look, Batman's going to come now. That would not happen. See if you did that. See if you put that, all you'd get in the clouds is just a big circular splosh. You wouldn't get an image at all. Because to actually project an image with optics like that, you'd have to use a collimating assembly. So you've got this is how modern projectors would work. They'd have the lamp at the back of a mirrored reflector. They'd have a collimating lens. I'm not great in lenses, so you're just going to have to bear with me here. The image, and then a series of other lenses that would then focus that image so that lenses would all be aimed to actually focus onto this exact plane and the distance that the wall was away from it, and then you could get a focused image. So this is how modern projection systems work. It's much more efficient because almost all the light from the light lamp is projected through this. In this case, only that percentage there of the light was used and a lot of it was blocked. All the light that shone out in these directions was completely wasted, and it was just a compromise for reliability. So let's take this apart. There's not going to be a lot inside it, but I want to see its construction. The first one used to be based on lamps, and you generally had a little plug at the back. It's very similar. It really is absolutely so similar. It looks so similar it might actually be based on the same housing. Okay, that's not what I was expecting. That makes it very hackable. The original ones had the metal contact at the side that made connection with the lamp, and then they had the contact at the back that was folded over. The slight difference here, let's zoom in this just a tiny little bit. The slight difference here is that instead of the contact at the back going to the back where the screw-in lamp made contact, and then the side contact here making contact with the side of the lamp, it appears that this tab at the top here, which doesn't make connection with this metal frame here, is the one that's coming from the back, and it makes connection with one side of the LED, like a Christmas light, which means it's only going to work one way around, and the other connection is actually this metal ring. When it's pushed right down, it makes connection with that. So there's loads of opportunity here. If you want a particular colour of light in here, you could just change this LED by folding it over, but you'd have to know that it would have to go in the correct way around or it wouldn't light. So if it doesn't light, just swap it around. The inside of this is just the battery holder with a metal sliding contact which is coupled onto the spring at the bottom. Hold on. Notepad. So inside here, inside the tube, we've got the spring that makes contact with the back of the battery, and we've got a longish stem coming up from that spring with a sort of outer coil, quite a wide outer coil. Oh, hold on, let's zoom back out so you can actually see what we're doing here. And then that comes up and it's basically crimped into a metal plate with the switch pressed into it, by the look of it. There's a little rivet here, plastic rivet, and then it looks like a metal rivet in there. And that just is a little sort of dimpled contact, and it's physically connected onto this. So as you slide this up and down, the coil and the spring is actually going up and down the base of the spring. It's got a sort of double spring action there. And that simply makes connection with this metal ring that sits down here. And that's it. As that slides up, it just touches that metal. It's very simple. They used to be super unreliable, but I'm guessing that with this new arrangement, they've maybe solved that problem because the LED is running at lower current, and I think there was a general mismatch with metals, and of course the fact they used the shittiest, cheapest batteries they could put in them. If you get batteries in these things, they'll almost certainly supply them with the zinc chloride type cells. It's very simple. So other things you could use this for, it would be useful, given that it's running an LED with no resistor directly across the 3 volts. Now, if I put this in, do you reckon I've put that in the right way around? Drink, there's a 50-50 chance that that LED is going to light now because I've just put it in a random direction. Let's see if I get lucky. Yes, I got lucky. Things I could see for this, you could make a night light with this, because if a good LED, good white LED will run for absolutely ages in a set of rechargeable cells. It will gradually get dimmer and dimmer over time, but it will last, usually stay, a good quality LED will stay lit for months on a single charge, just at low level. It's interesting enough. And it's not changed that much from the days when it used to be a little screw-in tungsten lamp in there and they just relied on the filament. But of course with the LED now, it's going to last an awful lot longer and provide a sharper, crisper image. So that's quite nice. It's a good evolution of these, and nice that it sort of owes its existence to the original Linnebach lanterns.